Hello, and welcome to the Libri Labra Book Club. It is March 2nd, but we're going to be talking about February's book. And before I kind of get into everything, just wanted to let you guys know that if you ever want to join us on camera, you can do that by becoming a book club VIP member on patreon.com/Libri Labra. And there's a few other perks for becoming a VIP member. You get priority commenting in YouTube videos, and you get to see some behind the scenes stuff. You get to be added to a Facebook group where we talk about some of the media we're consuming. And you also get put into a rotation where you help select the books that we read throughout the year. So this month we read The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. And I am joined today by my husband, John, aka BookTube Hubby, and Book Club VIP member Tom. And this was my selection. I also have Circe. So it's kind of been on my TBR for a little bit. And lately I've just been really eager to learn more about Greek mythology because I think I'm like a little embarrassed that I don't know much of it, but also I was telling John yesterday that I wanted it to be like my party trick. Like I want to know Greek mythology so well that I could just interject into conversations and be like, no, actually, that was. And so I have been picking up more like retellings of Greek mythology lately, and I wanted to read that. So I was not familiar with this story, other than like I knew very little about Achilles kind of being dunked in water and his mom holding him by his heel and that being his vulnerability point. Like I don't know where I learned that as a kid, but I remember that as a kid. So I was really excited to read this. Those are kind of my initial thoughts. What are yours?
I don't know. I was going into it going like, okay, so what did Achilles do? And then the first interest that I had truly garnered as an adult, and as in the Greek mythology, is playing the game Hades. That game was so good, and it actually gave you bits and pieces of what what their gods have been like. But I don't know. I was just really happy to find that it was in the from the perspective of Patroclus, because nobody really talks about Patroclus that much.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Tom? What are your initial thoughts?
Well, like you, I did not benefit from the classical education. So my knowledge just mainly comes from back as a kid reading the Classics Illustrated version of Siege on Troy. And it does have like I believe it's been ages since I read it, but for what they were really good retellings, like in comic book form of the, I did read Wuthering Heights, and it's like, that's for the big points, spot on, so. And I believe they did have the fact where Thetis, dips him in. I think it was in the river Styx.
Mm-hmm.
But that's but that was his vulnerability because that's where she was holding him. But I knew enough to say, okay, I have questions, but I have to give them to be answered, which we'll talk about later. After that, once we get into spoilers.
Okay, so at this point we can get into spoilers. If you haven't read it yet and you don't know anything about it, then go ahead, read it, and come back. I know that prior to reading it, I kept seeing it come up a lot on like BookTube and Bookstagram, and oftentimes people would be recording them talking about it like right after reading it, and they would be very emotional. So I was like, oh my God, is this story going to destroy me? So I feel like I was very guarded reading the whole thing. Not sure. I kind of feel like I knew what was going to happen, but not sure exactly when it was going to happen. But I do agree with John because I thought the story was going to be told through the perspective of Achilles. But I really liked Patroclus. Is that how you say his name? As a character, I think like he was my favorite character throughout the whole thing.
Well, you were in his head. You had his thoughts. It was from his perspective. It was just, you're gonna fall. It's an emotional attachment. That's the first
100%. Yes.
It's solidifying.
I don't disagree with all of that, but I still think out of everyone in the story, he was like the best person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it made Achilles better. Yeah.
Like like he lost so much from the beginning. Maybe that was part of it, like kind of like his fall from grace. He was no longer a prince or whatever, but he was just a really good human. And a lot of them weren't. Maybe it's because he had nothing to lose, really.
Well, there was an interesting moment where he actually realized I really threw away my entire life just because I didn't lie to them.
Yeah.
Because of lack of cunning. I was like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah, well, Achilles like straight out asks, like, why didn't you lie? It's like, wait, what? I could have done that. Because it never occurred to him that was
like it was so truthful to a fault.
Right, but he even asked Achilles, would you have lied? And he said no.
Right.
So, unless he was lying in that moment, which is also possible.
Also possible, yeah. you never know what you're going to do until you're put in that situation, I believe. So
it's true.
But I don't know. Maybe then I just really liked him because he was kind of honest to a fault. And I relate to that. Like, I wouldn't have lied either. I mean, I probably wouldn't have killed anybody, but like...
Yeah, but it was accidental.
He didn't do it on purpose.
Yeah. He just fell the wrong way and, boom.
I don't know what I was expecting. Actually, let me start with this because I'm trying to do like a pop sugar challenge, and I looked at it just recently, and it said that I had achieved like 7 of the 50 something, and I was like, did I read that many? And this counted as one, but when I looked, it was marked under LGBTQ romance.
Yep.
And I don't know if I agree with that classification. See,
what?
Okay.
Did we read the same book?
Okay.
In order, we're looking at the wrong aspects. In order for it to be a romance, they have to be together in the end.
It has to be a happily ever after. And so, at first,
huge spoilers coming up.
Yeah.
Those are 2 different things, by the way.
Yes.
What? A happily ever after?
That they're together in the end, or a happily ever after.
No, it's a happily ever after.
It has to be a happily ever after.
It has to be a happily ever after.
Has to be a happy.
Yes, it has to include an HEA. Okay? And happily ever after can't mean that they were both happy in 2 different relationships. Like, that's not... It doesn't mean just like a character's being happy at the end. But
so happy together.
As I started talking about this, I didn't realize how I was literally going to the end of the book. So we can...
That's why I said huge spoilers coming out.
So we can revisit this.
How could you say they weren't in a relationship?
No. That's not what I'm saying. That's not... Okay. We'll revisit this closer to the end.
Okay.
Because I had a lot of thoughts about it.
Because that's
that.
Yeah, let's put a pin in that. And no, but it's like, clearly, the reason these books are being written, and by women mostly, is that they're giving voice to characters who didn't have a voice before. And I'm pretty sure that with Patroclus, it's like, any sane person say, they're clearly gay, but oh no, they're just companions. It's like, no.
Even with the writing of the story, actually showcasing this particular story, they still showed that they were trying to sweep it under the rug. So that's one of the things that's happening now is we're trying to tell the stories that all got pushed away because of toxic masculinity. Right? Am I not right with that?
I mean, maybe more than that, I think. There was some class stuff happening in there too, because
that's true. Well,
referring to him. They kept referring to him as a slave
because they didn't know he murdered a kid.
Well, but like, no,
and he was exiled as a prince. He was a prince. That now he was nothing.
Yeah, but like the way he was being talked about. Well, first of all, the way Thetis talked about him the whole time, and then the way Pyrrhus.
That's his.
Yeah, his son. Yeah, his son was the biggest jerk about the whole thing.
Oh, well, so Pyrrhus was actually raised how Thetis wanted him to be raised. So he didn't have the same patronage. He didn't have the same figures to look up to that allowed him to do anything other than whatever the heck he wanted.
Okay,
he
but
had that entitlement as a god. He felt
okay. That's
god.
what I was going to say. When you say how she wanted him to be raised as a god,
like a god that would have zero remorse, not care one thing about humans, and do whatever he wanted, whatever he pleased, whenever he felt like it.
And that's because
like a god, because he was raised with her versus raised with the humans that actually had empathy.
Okay.
Bags of it.
Bags. Where was that from?
I don't know, but bags of empathy is just going to keep coming up in my mind now. I don't know where it came from. Was it Blackbird?
It might have been.
Oh, yeah.
Butcher and Blackbird, maybe.
Yeah.
But so then the gods just feel like outside of not being immortal, that just being human is just a weakness.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I hated him the most.
Yeah, for good reason.
I was like, what a little shit. Get this guy out of here.
What a little shit. No respect for authority, nothing.
Nothing. And then I don't know. I'm still trying to process all my emotions because I just finished this morning. So
okay.
There was a lot that happened towards the end, and I was definitely like, I called John, and he was like, "No, you have to wait. You have to wait for us to talk."
Yeah. But they'll talk about it.
And I was like,
you're getting into some real time now.
And I'm like,
okay, I'll go cry by myself then.
Fine.
It's okay to do it now. You're allowed.
So what was
real
interesting?
Tears on the Libri Labra podcast. Go ahead.
What was interesting was that I think sometime last year I had read Ithaca by a completely different author. And so there were characters in Ithaca that I recognized in this story. And I had, prior to reading this, I had told myself that I was going to reread Ithaca because I want to understand. There's just so many names and so many characters. And sometimes the names sound so familiar, but I want to be able to distinguish these people from each other. So I was going to reread it. But in that, it basically follows Penelope, which is Odysseus's wife. And he had left and hadn't come back, and nobody knew where he was or if he was dead or what was going on.
He's dealing with Troy.
So, okay. And so before reading this, in my mind, I had like feelings about Odysseus that he was just like a total jerk. And it was kind of nice to see him not a total jerk in this. Like he was... he wasn't perfect, but he wasn't, I don't know. I think I really respected him for
not being there for his wife when she needed him most.
No. Respected him for approaching Achilles' son and being like, maybe it's my own guilt, but like, I feel like he tried really hard.
Oh, to slow him down?
No, to fix things. And it's also interesting to learn their feelings of the afterlife, I guess. Is that what we still believe? Do we believe that if we don't is that... I didn't even think that was why we had tombstones. So that was kind of fascinating.
To make sure somebody remembers somewhere.
Yeah, but they were basically saying that if you don't name them, they stay stuck here and they don't get to go.
They get to watch everybody just walk on
into
by.
the afterlife.
We did mention who wrote the book, right?
Madeline Miller.
Okay, so Madeline Miller. I would very, very much like to give credit to Fraser Douglas. Did you listen to the audiobook, Tom?
Yes, I did.
He did a wonderful job with those actors, with those characters. Like as an actor, sorry, but like each. I I literally felt like I heard Achilles whenever he spoke every
Yeah,
single time.
No, yeah.
So
I really appreciated being able to distinguish
Mhm.
Patroclus from speaking versus Achilles. Like, you could hear his entire demeanor change.
Like a giant child, and it was great.
Mhm.
So that's another thing too. We really need to give those narrators
More credit.
than
100%.
for what they do and that what life they bring to someone's story.
Agreed.
But we can go on from there. I'm sorry. I just wanted to give him some
credit where credit's
kudos.
due.
Kudos.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, I was a little worried when I started reading this that because my experience reading Ithaca was a little rough. So I was just like, oh, is it going to be like that? But no, I really like the way Madeline Miller wrote this because I was definitely very invested in the characters and what was happening and the way she told the story. And I had very distinctive emotions about each person, and Agamemnon is an asshole.
I expected more.
Achilles is in his own way. Yeah.
I expected more trickery from Thetis, but
I mean, I see where they were both struggling with pride, but I still wouldn't put them. I wouldn't put them in the same category. I still feel like, Achilles may have had that little flaw in that moment, but I still felt like he was a better person than.
But see, that's the thing. That is actually the thing of pride. Is that when pride and honor are at stake, you are supposed to recognize the better person in that situation. Agamemnon was in the wrong, and he wasn't. His authority was going to his head. He's like, I'm a king, you're a prince. You listen, you listen to what I say. Everybody else that I say to do the thing overlooks the thing that there's, So he's used to getting his way, no matter what he says. So Achilles stepping up against him is probably the biggest insult to his pride that he's ever had to deal with.
Well, also too, Achilles has this clearly planned out. It's like, well, what's going to happen? He's going to take Briseis, and then the camp is going to get pissed off at him, and then we're going to lead a. It's like
right. I'm going to allow this to. It was a good laid out plan. It's just that there was a flaw in it.
Right.
I really liked Briseis too, but she was just like. She was just a pawn for everyone. That was rough. And it seemed like the only person that cared about her was Patroclus. Or at least I don't know. I was trying to figure that out.
Slave recognizing slave. In a way.
It was also kind of interesting where he goes to see her after she's been captured and she's like, you got to get out of here. If Hector gets me, he was like, oh, they'll hurt you. And she's like, no, they won't. They're my people. And he was like, oh, duh.
Yeah. We're the attackers.
Like they would actually be saving her technically. I don't know. I spent a lot of time Googling.
But I always go back to when they were on Pelion with Chiron, when they were going to have, we're going to do military training. Well, Achilles doesn't need it, and Patroclus doesn't want it. It's, I wonder if he rethought his decision, when we get to actually Troy. Apparently not,
But he, I know he was asked not to fight, and who knows what got into him, but he was doing really well. It was like Apollo that interfered and then started making a mess out of everything.
Well, the implication is that the gods were the pro-Greek gods were helping, likely helping Patroclus. So Because if you incorporate the ankle myth, then supposedly it was Apollo who guided the Paris' arrow toward Achilles, his heel. That's how he gets killed, I believe. So
I'm surprised that wasn't used in the story.
in a way, I thought it was well done the way she did it, though. So yeah, he'll die like any other one. Okay, here we go.
But then why even bother mentioning that his mother dipped him in the river Styx?
It still gave him a gift of. He was really good with that spear. He just couldn't dodge arrows.
Yeah, at that point, he didn't want to dodge arrows.
Mm-hmm.
Right. He was actually he was like happy to let it happen.
Go, yeah. Oh, finally, I'm done. But the thing that struck me about Pierce is like, man, the fates are like, okay, we're done with you, Achilles. Get off the stage. We're gonna
we're gonna
now.
throw your son in there.
Understudy, So you see what a raging jerk he was. I'll say, yeah.
It's also interesting the fact that the war on Troy took exactly long enough to raise that child for him to be what he is, what he was.
And going back to Odysseus, oh yeah, it'll totally be only a couple months. It's like, yeah, that's never the case.
Literally just a tool for what? What was the goal in taking Troy for those specific gods for wanting Troy to fall?
It was just I'm guessing it's just a pawn in the game. It's like, oh well, you have like the pro Troy gods say, oh well, you have that, and then the Greeks say, we want we can't have that, and that's how shit happens in Greek mythology a lot of times.
Did I miss it, or was there even mention of Helen at the end?
I don't think so. I'm trying to recall.
Because supposedly that was what the whole war was about, was getting Helen back.
Yes.
Yeah, and wasn't that supposed to have been where the horse was given as gift that was full of men that it was at what Pyrrhus did?
Yes.
Yes. Well, that was Odysseus's contrivance. So yes. Yeah, he's the one who got up the idea of the Trojan horse, but it was Pyrrhus who led the troops apparently.
That would have made the book like twice as long, I think, if they had gone into the details of that.
Probably would have considered.
I mean, it was like a line or two in there towards the end that's what happened, but like.
Well, and that's the thing, because I read it somewhere else. It's like, she transitions like in like a sentence, and you may miss it.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, that happened to me because it's like because all of a sudden they were just there, and it was like the first couple of years, and all of a sudden now we're like 10 years in. It's like, wait, and then I have to go back and say, okay, where'd that happen, sort of thing. So
tripped and blanked. I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Where am I?
I don't get it.
Every time there was mention of a new addition to the prophecy, I was like, really?
We're never going to tell you all of it. So
it pointed exactly to what I was expecting in the end anyway. So I don't know if we want to go into that yet.
Well, I mean, I feel like it has to be something big. He spends the entire book being like, I've got no beef with Hector. Like, Hector hasn't done anything for me.
Wow, that is a tempting fate. I don't know what it is. It happens to be the truth, but yeah.
I do appreciate the realization or the insight to the fact that well, crap. Now he has beef with me because of what we did over there.
Right.
Because they sacked the village that his woman was from.
Andromache.
Like Hector's
wife,
partner. Right? Yeah.
I don't know if I'm confusing what I read in this book with what I was Googling. but I'm trying to remember who the characters were. It said that somebody's wife was stolen, so somebody's son killed somebody else. And I don't remember who it was.
That could describe the book as a whole, yeah.
Shit. No, I think it said Agamemnon's son killed somebody. Killed Pyrrhus, I think.
Yes, he killed Pyrrhus, yes.
Okay. Whose wife? Like, who was the wife, though?
Clytemnestra. Agamemnon's wife, that is. And I believe Clytemnestra was at least Helen's sister or cousin. I can't
think
remember because there was the three of them.
They were
I
like,
thought it was
there was
like-
4 of them.
4 of them? Okay.
Yeah, because it was 2 sets of twins. It was Castor, Pollux, Helen, and Clytemnestra.
Okay. Well, there you go then.
But one of them was male.
No, 2 of them.
2 of them?
Yeah.
Castor and Pollux.
Yeah, but they were not on the same. 2 were mortal. 2 were.
Right. God.
I just don't remember which side Castor and Pollux were on.
Yeah, oh, that's right. No, it was Penelope was the other one. There was 3 of them that were there.
Mm-hmm.
When
Somebody's cousin, right?
The Helen. Yeah, that's what I said. Helen. That when he was trying to say, okay, who wants Helen? Who's going to be a suitor for Helen? And that's because it was 3 of them. It was Penelope, Helen. I don't remember who the other ones. Could have been Clytemnestra.
Penelope was Odysseus's wife.
Not at the time, no.
Okay. And cousins with Clytemnestra.
Yes.
Okay. That makes sense. So many people.
Yes. But, going back to the point, so it's interesting to me, the book has Achilles' name on the title, but to me, the best scenes occurred without him in it. Like, for example, like right at the end of the book, Thetis, who always hated Patroclus, throughout the book, but Patroclus said, Patroclus was the life companion of Achilles, and Achilles shared his life with him. And at the end, it's like, okay. And, Patroclus shares his memories of Achilles with Thetis at the end.
Right.
So incredibly generous of him.
He didn't have anything else to do.
Well, that's also true. Yes.
And talking about is also him reliving those memories at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's where the title comes from, right? As he's like retelling everything and what he feels Achilles should be remembered for, and how he played the lyre and how beautiful his voice was.
Right. But that reminds me of, what does it mean to the Greeks? For, like, who is the best of the Greeks? Who is the Aristotelian? And what the qualifications are for that. Well, you kill a lot of people, so that's good. It's like, well, that's number one. But sometimes that's not all it's cracked out to be, I guess. Was it Patroclus? Actually, probably. Given the characters were in the book.
I feel like it was. I think he deserved better from everybody.
But one of the questions I had, because I knew enough about the myth, because I was like, wait, doesn't Patroclus die before Achilles? And I was like, yeah, sure enough. Oh, there you go.
Every time someone said it was like Hector this, Hector that, I was like, I knew that was the reason
that 100%.
Achilles would have to kill him.
Yes.
It was the only. I was
Because
like,
he couldn't think of any other reason.
Right,
he couldn't think like.
But again, it's like that chess thing. It's like, okay, well, Achilles is sulking in his tent. Patroclus has to come up with a way. It's like, well, people are dying here, and he's not doing anything, so I have to come up with a plan. And the plan is to, impersonate Achilles. And that sets in motion, all the events that lead up to the end.
But he didn't follow the plan. He didn't listen.
All it takes is once you pop, you can't stop.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
It's like, the thrill of the success of the first throw that he was like he had apparently was somebody pretty close, so
Yeah.
he took action and he was like, okay, I have to do this now.
Right.
So and then after that he was like, oh, that was actually quite nice. Let me do that again. So,
I didn't know I could do that, and it's like, yeah, because he killed Sarpedon.
yeah,
At the outset, and that's a big deal.
that is a very big deal.
So
He should have done that. That's probably
Yeah.
where his flaw. That's where everything started going wrong.
Yes. And then we have hubris, unplanned hubris, apparently. I'm going to scale the walls. It's like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
I know there's a movie about Troy. I think Brad Pitt's in it, but I haven't watched it. Just out of, not nothing.
Is it just called Troy? I think so, right?
It's probably,
I think so.
But
I haven't watched it either, so I'm curious who Brad Pitt plays.
2004.
I don't know.
That's 20 years. No.
Well, Paris is Orlando Bloom.
Yeah, because he's also always an archer. Apparently, he's typecast from Lord of the Rings. I don't know what occurred when, so don't quote me on that.
It's got it's funny because it's got everyone's name and then the actor name in parentheses except for Brad Pitt. So I don't know who Brad Pitt is.
Maybe we weren't supposed to know though, it's a cameo. It's like, I don't know.
I don't know who Brendan Gleeson is, but
you don't know who Brendan Gleeson is? Oh my god, we have to change that. That's an offline discussion.
He's not even in here.
Let me keep going. Show more.
Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I could have sworn that he was in it, but I apologize if I'm incorrect.
He's Melanus.
Okay.
Menelaus.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a starring role. Yep.
Oh, I want to watch this now. Oh, I see who Brad Pitt is.
Oh, okay.
Of course, that's who he is.
Who he was, yes. Exactly. As a side note, I read The Killers of the Flower Moon. It's the same idea. It's like, I know Robert De Niro and I know Leonardo DiCaprio are in it. Who are they playing? And sure enough, it's like that's the only answer it could be.
Odysseus is Sean Bean.
I'm happy to see that at least. I mean,
did you hear?
At least he made it a certain way through that story before he dies.
Which one?
Anything Sean Bean is in.
Oh, okay, yeah, got it.
So Sean Bean is Odysseus and Brian Cox is Agamemnon.
I survived. We're gonna have a post-credit scene.
It's still canon because he never made it through the whole story.
Right.
It still works.
I wonder if there's Briseis.
Where?
Right here.
Rose Byrne.
Mm-hmm.
Who played Helen? Does it have it there? Just out of curiosity.
It's Diane Kruger.
No. Don't know the name, but I will. Oh, there you go.
You want to see it?
I mean, I figured we're gonna.
Well, I have to watch
everything. As
Did you not? Did you not?
I've never seen it.
What? Did you not? Did you know if it is?
I knew it
okay.
existed.
I figured.
But you know what else I haven't watched? I haven't watched 300.
Okay, I did watch that.
Sparta.
And I feel like there's another one that I haven't watched. It's similar.
So
interesting.
But anyway, back to the book.
Yeah, I guess we can go back to the love story thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So here, right? I picked it in February, and in previous years, I have picked a romance for February because of Valentine's Day. But I know, I know, no, but I know that you guys don't necessarily like to read romance. So I was like, okay, this year I'm not going to pick a romance. I'm going to pick a love story. And there's a difference between a love story and a romance, because a love story is like, I'm trying to think. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow is a love story.
May I interject here?
Sure.
A love story to me is that's what the story is people falling in love. But with maybe reverse that. The other one is it has more to it than just a love story. You know what I mean? Like with Achilles, we have the whole Trojan War and everything else going on. Notice the romance is not the point of the book.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Not just that, the fact that in a love story there can be love, people can fall in love, but that doesn't
Right.
there's no happy ever after. It can
Right.
end in death. It can end in them not being together. It can end in everything but that happily ever after. So that's what would make it a love story.
As much as I diss it, I'm comparing this now to the hating game, because the purpose of the hating game was, do they get together? And that was it. Nothing else about that story. There was nothing else to it. Whereas with this one, there is.
Well, there was her job or whatever. That I mean, is that what was supposed to be?
That was just like
the focus.
That was just
the
like
distraction.
That was just a setting, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas
we have to get them together in a place, on a constant basis. How
Makes
do we do
sense.
that? I know. Yeah, that's what that was.
But I mean, there can be stories that just have romance in them. Like, for example,
Yes.
It's not a ton, but Scythe does have
Yes.
a
What was that
romance
other one?
in
Love
it.
in the Time War or something?
Mhm.
What was that one called?
Oh, that's definitely a romance.
That's they get together.
I
I thought they were just doing this through time and
Forever?
never actually
well, then it
found
would
each
be
other.
a love story, but
I thought that was okay.
the happily ever after is required to be classified as a romance. Okay.
But what if it's happily in the ever after?
Okay, so that was where I was going.
Now we're splitting hairs, damn it.
But that's where I was going with this, because
It's a
in my
difference
mind,
without distinction. Sorry,
originally I was like, they both fucking died. So like that's not a
Wow,
happily
that was
ever
an F-bomb
after.
Get the explicit tag on there. Excellent.
That's not a happily ever after. And then I was like, wait, but is it?
That's the definition of happily ever after.
That's why I
What
phrased
else
it like
is
I
after
phrased
that?
it. I mean,
No, but I'm saying.
but I'm saying.
Because to me, it ended at them dying. But you're saying it's forever and ever and ever because
They were holding
eventually,
hands in some afterglow after the fact. I mean, were they not?
Yes.
You just completely blew your whole thing out of the water with this. I wanted to give you. It wasn't a romance. It was a bromance. Okay, that's why it wasn't a romance.
I'm just saying that, like, up until that single last line, I was like, it's not a romance.
How is it not a romance?
No,
It wasn't until that last 1%.
Last
Oh, they're
one.
holding hands now. Thank
This
God
made
it's
it
a
a
romance now.
romance.
Yes.
All the kissing and sex that led out to it doesn't matter.
No, I love it though. I absolutely love it.
What?
Sorry.
And the fact that you pointed it out that it wasn't a romance until it was like, and then they hold hands.
That checks that box. All
No,
right.
that's
Achievement.
great. That's
Romance
amazing.
unlocked. There you go. Right at the end of the film.
I'm gonna have to do additional research.
No,
To
but
see
I
how
think
else it's
my
classified.
interpretation of that was, people talk about the Elysian Fields, which is like, the Greek version of paradise, and
Mhm.
based on what I heard, that was only like for like real heroes like Achilles, like the best, like the true best of the best Greeks, meaning Patroclus would not get in there. But I read that part as, the fact that they're in love and holding hands, that brings them to Elysia. That light is them going to the Elysian Fields from the gloom of the underworld.
So I took after Patroclus had shared all of his memories with Thetis, is that she had finally blessed him so that he could
she blessed him by putting his name on the friggin' thing.
So that he could join Achilles in the afterlife.
Yeah.
Instead of being cursed to watch everybody walk over his grave.
Otherwise, you would, I guess, be forgotten and just remain on Earth, I guess. but to your point, Desiree, that's what I was talking about at the beginning. Because throughout history, or recent history, it's always been an issue if they were lovers or not. And the way this book is written, clearly they are. But
Yeah, that was not the argument. The argument was just
okay,
whether or not they got a happily ever after.
I would say yes.
Yeah, and you say yes.
What? That it's a romance?
That they got their happily ever after.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. They got the
Yeah.
happily they were ever after.
they Romeo and Julieted the crap out of it.
Oh my god.
But it was the other way
Oh,
around.
wow.
Romeo and
Yeah,
Juliet
but
came
it was
after
a bit
this.
less dumb. It was a bit less dumb than Romeo and Juliet.
All the hoops they had to jump through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but one of the things I noticed is that the Greeks apparently didn't care that they were lovers. It was like there was no like, oh, I'm going to expose you. They said the Medea, on the island, maybe, but
She was also jealous. That was her man now.
Yeah.
But still, and I think it's
It seemed like the argument.
one of the kings chided him for that. Tried to make it seem like it was a bad thing,
But
a shameful thing.
it seemed like the argument was more about Patroclus' class and place in the world versus that he was a man. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was more about like that he wasn't good enough to be with Achilles because Achilles was made for so much more.
Right.
Well, that was certainly part of it, though. At least from Thetis' point of view.
But even using that, they'll use any angle they can to pry someone away from someone. So if they were trying to use that as a form of shame, and it never budged him. But it was just I don't know. I think because everything that we know from back then was always run by the patriarchy, the toxic masculinity crap.
Mm-hmm.
I know we're trying to get away from that with the literature that we have now.
Mm-hmm.
But
which is why we have what I call the new Greeks, like Madeline Miller and like Jennifer Saint, and et al.
Claire North.
Yes, they probably were there all along, but it's like it just seems like now all of a sudden it's like, oh, we have like you pick a female person in mythology. Here you go. Here's a book about them, which is not a bad thing. So.
No, I appreciate reading the stories from the female's perspective and also seeing their like their quieted strength, if that makes any sense. Like their inner workings and all the strength that they had to apply to live through the oppression that they did.
Yeah, and that's what reminds me of us when we read Ariadne. It's like when you read this stuff, and it's like, and then you say, okay, well, here's this, this, and this, and you put that all together. And say, okay, yeah, now I can see that. So.
Yeah, Theseus wasn't very good in that. There's a lot. There's so many characters.
Mm-hmm.
I have to start organizing all the Greek retellings I have so I could start going through them.
Well, the other thing, I was chided for it last night because I have never read the Iliad or the Odyssey, the originals. I was like, oh,
same.
So,
are those written in verse? Is that?
I believe so. Question mark.
Okay.
I don't know. I never read it, so I honestly.
I read it in school, but it didn't actually process
school
it.
Tried to force it on me too, and I never.
Yeah. I did, however, read Ulysses by James Joyce, which was a hell of a ride. So.
What was
it's based on the Odyssey.
It was like a really old movie. It was the first time, or one of the first ones they were actually using CGI type stuff with Jason and the Argonauts. I watched that, and that had the most to do with any of the old Greek stories that I've ever been. I've experienced, I guess.
Clash of the Titans from that era too. The original.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think I've watched that one though.
I have it, and I see it on Hulu now. It's like, I should probably watch that again. I mean, the special effects aren't as special anymore, but still, that was like a monumental achievement. Back in the day, you saw, it's like, oh my god, this is amazing. So,
I mean, what would you do if a skeleton chased you?
Yeah.
I want to read through the Percy Jackson books too. There's so many of those.
There's
you and your YA. No, I'm kidding.
I have been reading such a few YA books recently.
Well, it's probably just as well.
I still have plenty of them to read, but I've been trying to avoid not buying new ones.
Going back to the book for a second, I thought it was interesting, just the dramatic arc, I guess, because like for the longest time it was like almost like a flat line, a little bit, and then all of a sudden right at the end it's like, all right, let's boom, take it from like 0 to 100. Let's wrap this up, so to speak. But I think Clytemnestra has her own book too, not by this author, but somebody, so there's that as well.
Actually, who is that by?
Let's wrap. That sounds like the Trojan. Sounds like the.
I'm tempted to say, if I remember my Greek mythology correctly, that no, I don't want to spoil. It's not a spoiler because it's not in the book, but it is part of Greek mythology. Well, let me look it up first.
I'm sure there's probably more than one, but the one that I have is Clytemnestra by Costanza Cassatt.
Yes. Yep, that's the thing. Okay, I'm right. Do you want to know what it is?
Sure.
Clytemnestra kills Agamemnon.
Oh yeah, I told him that earlier.
I figured, yeah.
Because she does
in the bathtub, it's already called.
In Ithaca, and she goes, she escapes to Ithaca to Penelope.
Which makes sense now, because now we know they're cousins. They're related, okay.
Right, exactly, yeah. So,
there's a lot of familial murders.
Oh, yeah.
Just a lot of murder in general.
I guess it's what
maybe you'll have that and more. But, well, yeah, and that's also, maybe due to primogeniture. It's like, if the firstborn inherits everything, well, guess what? You got people gunning for you now.
I know in the beginning of Ithaca, there's a whole cast list of it's like 2 pages long.
There's one in this book too.
Oh, was there? I didn't see it.
Yeah,
I didn't see it.
I think it's maybe at the end of the book. The Immortals, and there's also an expanded edition which I have, but I haven't looked at it yet. There's apparently videos which I haven't looked.
So I just joined a Discord for my silent book club. I joined a silent book club, and one of the channels was like, "What are you reading right now?" And I posted that I was reading this, and so Ashley told me that Madeline Miller was actually going to be giving a chat with the Orlando Library.
Oh, wow.
Which is cool, but we're going to be
somewhere else.
We're going to be
otherwise.
Oh
well.
But I was so excited. I think it was I didn't see an address, so I don't think she's actually going to be at the Orlando Library. I think it's going to be like a virtual thing that they're doing.
Skyping in, right?
But either way, we're not going to be around. We're going to be in Tampa.
Okay.
So, I would have liked to see that. But I did sign up for an R.F. Kuang talk, Zoom, and then one other author that I can't remember off the top of my head. But
Achilles.
Are we ready for final thoughts?
Up to you. You're leading the discussion, so whatever you think is best.
I think I'm good with final thoughts. I'll let you go first.
Oh, I enjoyed it. I give it 4 stars. We're gonna have to start petitioning for a way to rate the narrators and all of the social media apps that all these narrating apps are in. You can Didn't you say that Amazon did it? You can actually rate the book and the narration
on Audible.
On Audible,
it has like 3 categories. I think you're supposed to rate the story, the narration, the performance, and then there's one other overall.
I know that probably overwhelms some people, but we need that for a lot of Everand. Come on. But
I try to mention
it's good
that in every review I write, whether I really enjoy
the narration is great.
Because I'm sure there's a reason that wow, and of course I can't remember her name now. What was the name of the woman that narrated all the Outlander books?
Davina Porter.
Yeah.
Davina Porter, yep.
Davina Porter. So like Davina Porter and Julia Whalen and
I read a book, a non-Outlander book, where she read it. It's like, oh, this isn't right.
You kept imagining Claire.
Yeah. I think it was like Jane Eyre. It was one of the classic like novels, but let me see.
Yeah, I feel that though, because I just heard a narrator that narrated the entire like Lunar Chronicles, and I just could not. I had a hard time imagining her in a different world.
Well, I mean, that's like Rob Inglis and Peter Circus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, with the Lord of the Rings. It's
right.
Both of them are very good, but there's a different style of narration.
So I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to reading Cersei. I think she's currently working on a Hades and Persephone retelling. So I believe that's her next.
Yeah, I figured that somebody had to do it. So that's
I mean, there's a ton of those. But yeah, that's
and
the
also
next thing she's
like Orpheus
on.
and Eurydice from Eurydice's point of view. There's any number of
So I feel like I really, really enjoyed it, and I feel like she made me care about all of the characters in different ways. And I don't know, I would give it a 5. I give it 5 stars.
I give it a 4. I stand by my idea that the best scenes occurred without Achilles. It's usually Patroclus and somebody. Like it's yes, I know there's the romance and such, but that's expected because that's But like with Patroclus and Briseis, how they were getting to know each other, and Patroclus and Thetis at the end, for example. It's just like that, and what it means, like I said, to be the Aristosician. Clearly, the way the book is written, it's Patroclus, but oh no, it's Achilles. It's like no, it's really not. 4 stars.
So if you've joined us this far, thank you. And hopefully you will be able to join us next month, where we're going to be reading
The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I often quote the author, but I've never actually read him. So here we go.
This is going to be a first for me.
Same. Yep. Same. I've heard a lot of good things about it, though. I was in Barnes & Noble yesterday, and I was looking. Like, there were so many different versions of it, but I'm going to have to look it up online to see which cover.
You're not getting like the pretty or gussied up hardcover or something.
there was a few of them. I know one belongs to their like cloth bound. They have like a series, and I don't have any other books in that series, and I didn't want to start collecting
all the classics that were redone.
That were like redone in that.
Yeah. Don't touch that one.
I was like, if I get one, I'm gonna have to get them all.
Right.
So
yeah,
but there were a couple of other versions.
Oh my god, it's so pretty. I have to get its cousins.
It's lonely on the shelf.
But there are people on TikTok that have now been like ripping the covers off of their books and making them look like that series.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I've showed them to you.
I think you might have. I think you know what you're talking about.
So just one more time, if you ever want to join us on screen to discuss the book, you can do that by becoming a book club VIP member at patreon.com/Libri Labra. Thank you for joining us, and we hope you'll be able to join us again next month when we talk about The Picture of Dorian Gray. So have a wonderful day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.